Welcome to this edition of Head to Head. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 362 of the podcast. And on this episode, I'm talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. The Indiana Pacers have, for the second year in a row, eliminated the Milwaukee Bucks from the playoffs, this time in 5 games, thanks to a game winner from star point guard Tyrese Halliburton. And it's my opinion that the biggest problem right now with the Milwaukee Bucks is that this loss surprised absolutely no one. Since the Bucks won the NBA Finals in 2021, they have won one postseason round, and it was in 2022 against the Chicago Bulls. The Bucks have become a second-tier team in the Eastern Conference. They are no longer in the same class as the Boston Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers, New York Knicks, and also clearly the Indiana Pacers. To make matters worse for the team, they will, for at least of most of next season, be without star point guard Dame Lillard, who, put it lightly, has not been a great fit alongside Giannis. And now we are going to have our yearly speculation as to whether or not Giannis wants to remain a member of the Milwaukee Bucks long term. And I get it. When teams do not play well, we ask the question, does the star player want to leave for a better situation? But when you look at the Bucks, they have done so many things to properly build around Giannis. They said, hey, you want to play with another star player? Then we'll get you Dame Lillard, and we'll remove a point guard who we won a championship with in Drew Holiday. Now that decision backfired, but that was clearly something that Giannis wanted to happen. And I still don't even know how to feel about the whole Adrian Griffin situation when he's not even there a half a year and is replaced by Doc Rivers, who is no longer viewed as one of the best coaches in all of basketball. I guess my point is I don't really feel all that bad for Giannis, and I want him to stay with the Bucks and improve their situation. So one question this offseason is, will the team bring back Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis? These are two talented big men who are also very good three-point shooters. Brook Lopez is a free agent and Bobby Portis has a player option. I really like Brook Lopez as a player and would keep him on my roster at the right price. But listen, Brook Lopez is an older NBA player. He is aging. He should be to the Bucks what Al Horford is for the Boston Celtics. A good piece on your roster, but no longer a guy you are relying on night in and night out. Lopez can have nights of being the old Brook Lopez, but he's not going to be as consistent as he used to be. So I've been thinking about what are the moves the Bucks should look to make this offseason. Well, they should start at point guard. Without Lillard, they are going to need a starting caliber player, and the guy I think makes the most sense is D'Angelo Russell. When D'Angelo Russell is playing at his best, he is an all-star caliber player. I know it hasn't really worked out in both of his stints in LA, but every time he goes to Brooklyn, he plays like an all-star, and I think he makes sense for the Milwaukee Bucks. They could probably get him at a decent price, and I think they need a starting point guard, and D'Angelo Russell can be that guy who plays the year they're going to be without Dame Lillard and help the Bucks win some ball games. So let's say the Bucks move on from both Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. Who should they be looking at as big men? Well, there are two guys who have played for the Minnesota Timberwolves last year, Naz Reid and Julius Randle. I think those are two guys the Milwaukee Bucks should be interested in. Naz Reid is a former Sixth Man of the Year who is very good and is capable of being a starting player in the NBA, and Julius Randle is an all-star caliber player when he is playing at his best. These to me are the best case scenario of the type of players the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be able to get this offseason. I don't see a superstar going to Milwaukee, and I don't see a big trade happening with the Milwaukee Bucks where they're able to pair Giannis with another star player. But the three guys I have mentioned, D'Angelo Russell, Naz Reid, and Julius Randle are difference makers, and those are the type of players the Milwaukee Bucks should be looking into. I don't know what the price of any of those free guys are going to warrant. I think Julius Randle has not had the best year with the Timberwolves, so I would be surprised if he got a max contract from anyone. D'Angelo Russell is clearly not getting a max contract. Naz Reid, now that's the question mark. He might get bigger money than what the Bucks are willing to spend, but the Milwaukee Bucks need to make some kind of splash this offseason, or things are only going to get worse for them moving forward. Let's have the Giannis talk. If I had to guess, Giannis is going to give the Milwaukee Bucks a chance to improve, and that next year is going to be the make it or break it year. I think deep down he wants to stay there, but I understand how if they get eliminated early on in the playoffs, that would upset the star, who is now 30 years old and plays a very physical style of basketball. I don't know how his game is going to age deep into his 30s. Maybe Giannis is looking at it like, I'm going to be out of the NBA by 35 years old, and I need to win at least one more title to cement myself as one of the best basketball players of all time. He could very well be looking at his overall legacy and saying, are they going to talk about me as if I'm one of the greats if I've only won one time? I mean, think about the guys we talk about: Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Tim Duncan. They won multiple times. Now, Dirk is an interesting example because Dirk won one title and is viewed as a great basketball player, but nobody is putting Dirk in the top 10 basketball players of all time. And he's probably a guy who statistically would be in that conversation if he had won one or two more championships. We would be talking about Dirk as if he were a top 10 basketball player ever. And I feel the exact same way about Nikola Jokic. Like, that's another guy who needs to win more championships. I hear all of these talk shows debating about whether or not he's already the greatest center of all time. He's not going to be in that conversation until he adds another title or two. So what are the options if Giannis doesn't want to remain a member of the Bucks? Well, the worst case scenario for the rest of the league is he somehow ends up on the Lakers with LeBron and Luka. I mean, that would be a big three that even I would be afraid of. I think that trio would win titles. I don't think that's going to happen, but can you ever say without a doubt a star player is not going to land in LA somehow? And I hate to admit it, but that would be a really fun team to watch. The Miami Heat also makes tons of sense. I mean, they have Tyler Hero, they have Bam, they could trade one of those players and bring back Giannis. That's a team in need of a superstar, but does that put Giannis in a better situation? I mean, yes, he would be paired with Eric Spoelstra, the best head coach in all of basketball, but I don't know if that's going to help Giannis get a second title. I think a place that makes a lot of sense but is probably never going to happen is Giannis ending up in San Antonio with Victor Wembanyama. I mean, could you imagine a big three of Giannis, Victor Wembanyama, and De'Aaron Fox? I mean, that's a trio that could win a championship. Now, I don't see the Spurs making that trade. It would probably cost them a lot, but they could use an established star to help develop Wembanyama, and it would instantly turn the San Antonio Spurs into the most entertaining basketball team in the league. I'm just talking about him joining the Spurs because I don't see a place where he goes and instantly wins. I mean, yes, the boring answer is the Golden State Warriors, but does pairing him with Steph right now mean that the Warriors are instantly a title contending team? I don't know the answer. I mean, yes, I think they would be a very good team. They are a team that could get to the Western Conference Finals, but I think him paired with Wembanyama makes more sense to me. They could have a longer run of dominance. What's happened in modern basketball are superstar players being traded to teams that are already good. What if one of them gets traded to a place that has the potential to be very good? That's what I would like to see happen. That's why I think Giannis to the Spurs makes a lot of sense to me. Having said all that, I believe one of the reasons that Giannis is going to remain a member of the Bucks is because there's not that team out there where he joins, they become the favorites to win the title. I mean, I don't think these other teams that are really good right now are going to make a trade for Giannis. None of these other destinations make much sense to me. I've heard some people speculate him going to Houston. I don't think that that makes Houston the best team in the West. I don't think that helps Giannis get another title. I think an intriguing team to think about is the Memphis Grizzlies. If they could somehow make a trade and pair Giannis with Ja Morant, now that would get me excited. I really do hope it's a surprise team like the Spurs or the Grizzlies that end up with Giannis. I'm so sick of the obvious Miami Heats, Golden State Warriors, LA Lakers always getting the superstar player. Like, there are other teams in the NBA who could use a star of Giannis's level. I mean, somebody else make the move, please. Become an interesting basketball team. I do also think it would be the funniest thing of all time if the Dallas Mavericks somehow made a trade to acquire Giannis. I mean, that would just drive everyone up a wall. So I do wonder if this is being driven by Giannis wanting to win another title, or is it to be a relevant superstar player? Because right now, I really do question how relevant Giannis is. I mean, he is getting overlooked by other stars in the NBA. Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think Giannis is viewed as a top 5 player in the league, but he's no longer in that MVP conversation because the team he's playing for isn't as good as those other teams. And one has to wonder if that is getting on Giannis's nerves. Like, does he want to be viewed as the best player in basketball? And if that's the case, that could be the deciding factor as to whether or not he wants to remain on the Milwaukee Bucks. Because right now it looks like if he stays on the Bucks, they are going to continue to be a team that can win 50 games during the regular season, but then lose early on in the postseason. That seems to be their ceiling unless they make drastic changes this offseason, which isn't looking very good right now. I mean, I know I talked about all those moves I think the Milwaukee Bucks should make this offseason, but do I really believe they're going to make those moves? No, because they're in a tough bind. They're going to be paying Dame Lillard a max contract. He's not going to be playing next season. Giannis is under a max contract. They might not have Bobby Portis or Brook Lopez. I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks might be looking at the situation and going, we know we're not going to win a title. We're just going to have a quiet year where we're an okay basketball team. And I'm curious to see how Giannis would respond to that, because he clearly wants the Milwaukee Bucks as an organization to do anything and everything to help him get a second NBA title. The lack of winning really is having an impact on how Giannis is viewed as one of the best players in basketball. Like, he's not in that MVP chat anymore because his team is not winning 55 plus games and being a team that is viewed as a title contending team. I mean, you're not going to win the MVP when you're on a team that has a 500 record on the road like the Bucks did last season. I think we all thought things were going to go a lot better for the Bucks in the years after winning the title, but then things really began to fall apart. Chris Middleton had his injury issues. They traded away Drew Holiday. They had some tough playoff losses to the Miami Heat and now the Indiana Pacers. And absolutely no one expected this year's Milwaukee Bucks team to even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. We all thought it was going to be the Cavs, the Celtics, maybe the Knicks will get in there, but nobody even suggested the possibility of the Milwaukee Bucks making it to the conference finals. And that's wild when you consider they still have Giannis on their roster. And at one point, they also had Dame Lillard. Nobody was taking this basketball team seriously, and all those people were unfortunately proven right. And it's hard to say there's a quick fix because it does feel like the Bucks have done irreversible damage to their franchise. I mean, they made the trade for Dame Lillard that really hasn't panned out, and they named Doc Rivers their head coach, which it seems like for now they're going to stick by, making it really hard to feel good about the future of the Milwaukee Bucks, because I think we also suspect at some point Giannis is going to reject the franchise entirely and demand a trade. The question is, when is that going to happen? And I, as of right now, do not believe it's going to be this offseason. I think it's going to be next year. I think that Giannis is going to give the Milwaukee Bucks one more year to build around him, but I don't think that year is going to go much better than this year. Like, I think that the ceiling for the Bucks is to be another 50 to 52 win team that gets eliminated in the first or second round of the playoffs. I do not see a scenario where the Milwaukee Bucks make it to the Eastern Conference Finals next season, especially if Giannis is going to be the lone star on the team. I know some basketball analysts have talked about the fact that Giannis and Dame seem to play better when they're not playing together, but come on, I don't see the Milwaukee Bucks being a very good basketball team with just Giannis and no Dame next season, unless they find a decent enough replacement. So this year, the Milwaukee Bucks were the 5th seed in the East and they won 48 games. I could see them getting even lower next season and being a 7th or 8th seed, because I think next year the Orlando Magic could be better than the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to be healthier. They had some injuries. They were a 500 basketball team, but they really did play well against the Celtics in the first round. That's a team I feel good about moving forward. And the other team that could emerge as better than the Milwaukee Bucks is the Detroit Pistons. I mean, they ended the season on a high note. They played really well against the New York Knicks. I personally feel a lot better about the future of the Detroit Pistons than I do the future of the Milwaukee Bucks. The Magic and Pistons feel like they are starting to become good teams. The Milwaukee Bucks feel like they are at the end of being a very good team. This feels like the end of a run for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's more than a turning point. The situation right now feels dire, and it could become a lot worse because any day now, Giannis could say those words, "I want a trade out of here." Listen, Giannis has some very good reasons to possibly want out of Milwaukee, but I have to bring this up because the thing that he is chasing is he wants to win another title, but if he just joins another super team, he will get the same flack that every superstar gets. Oh, you had to team up with other star players to win. It's the same way we talked about LeBron. It's the same way we talked about Kevin Durant. Yes, Giannis has won a title on his own, but if he goes and joins a super team and wins another title, we'll start to have those kinds of conversations about him. I really do believe it's best for him to stick it out in Milwaukee and try to make things work there, because he has a chance to be the greatest player in franchise history if he's not already viewed as that. And if he can really surprise people and get the Bucks back to being a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, he can go back to being a legitimate MVP candidate and possibly be viewed as the best player in the league. It's also just good for the sport when the mid-markets like Milwaukee also have star players. Like, you don't want teams to lose their star player because that eliminates another market from being interesting. Nobody will watch the Milwaukee Bucks for at least 3 seasons if they lose Giannis. It's weird for me to say this as a Celtics fan, but I really am rooting for the Milwaukee Bucks to have some sort of success next season so that they can keep Giannis long term. I think it's good for the sport of basketball to have those kinds of guys who are going to play their entire career for an organization. Like, I want Nikola Jokic to remain a Denver Nugget for his entire basketball life, and I feel the same way about Giannis with the Milwaukee Bucks. It just makes sense for this player to play only for this organization. Having said that, he's the one who clearly controls all the cards. If he wants out of Milwaukee, he is going to get out of Milwaukee. I just think possibly it would be a bit insincere for him to go to them and blame them for not properly building around him. I mean, they've done everything to help this guy get another title. They brought in Dame Lillard. They shook things up. They brought in Doc Rivers. They made the moves, and they so far have not paid off, but it's hard to blame the organization. In conclusion, I believe Giannis should give the Milwaukee Bucks at least one more chance to make things right. I think they've earned that. They've won a title together. This marriage has made sense since the beginning. He's developed and turned into what he is now, and I'd like to see it end on a high note because things could not be worse for the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, nobody's high on their future. I would like to see them turn things around, and I would like Giannis to be a major part of that turnaround. Thanks for listening to this edition of Head to Head. I'm Cam McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so please rate, review, and subscribe.